So, folks, because Kamala Harris is tanking in polling among black supporters, how two-time Barack Obama supporters are detested and loathed by the establishment, loathed by the status quo, mostly because Barack Obama made it worse for these people. And that's not me even just disputing that. That was discussed in a New York Times article when they interviewed black barbershop owners in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that stated that their lives got worse with the hope and change messaging that they thought Barack Obama was going to bring in. And since Kamala Harris is tanking in 2024, they decide to bring back the cameo of the past. It seems like a TV show at this point. Like, they're at a point now where the ratings are really hitting rock bottom, so they figure, let's bring an old castmate in to try to rile up the crowd once again. And that's exactly what they did. They brought Barack Obama back from Martha's Vineyard, I'm sure surfing with paddleboard or, behind closed doors, whatever they were doing, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. They brought Barack Obama to basically play this dad figure. To kind of be this role model to scold black voters into supporting Kamala Harris. And to me, it sounds like something I would hear Bob Saget on Full House trying to say this. But this isn't even like a written, this is what he truly thinks. It's not even like a written episodic television show. This is actually reality to him. Listen to this.
Communities is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. Now, I also want to say that seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly and say that when you have a choice that is this clear, when on the one hand you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles and pain and joy that comes from those experiences. He's had to work harder.
The pain, the joy, the suffering that I had to endure. That's why I'm painfully suffering on my many, many different estates across America, from Martha's Vineyard to Hawaii to Chicago to D.C. Why I sent my kids to the most ivory of ivory schools. I'm in such pain and suffering that I have to spend majority of my retirement making deals for Netflix. I know the pain and struggle. And we all want joy. But the important thing is, I'm going to guilt you into voting for the woman that mass incarcerated you. Because that is the best thing you could do. This is Barack Obama trying to play father. This is him trying to play the dad role. And shame them. Shame these people. Shame them and guilt them into voting that for the party that has screwed a lot of these people over. The reason that they won't vote for you and the reason they don't support your party is because your party does not have their best interest. In fact, deliberately ignores them. This is the same guy who was known to make the stunt in Flint, Michigan, and say that toxic water is okay because, look, I'm having a sip, and manufactured a skit lied to you about the contaminated water. It's still poisonous in Flint, Michigan. What about those brothers? What about their pain and suffering, Brock? Don't you care about their upbringings? They're like you. They're like you. I worked hard. I went to some Ivory school, and then next thing you know, Citigroup comes by, gives me an email, and I became president, and I gave them opportunities to fill my staff with their lobbyists. I feel your pain and struggle, brother. Well, turns out a lot of these people are not convinced by it. And so much so that a couple of them were invited to Laura Ingram's program here on Fox News. And one of them was a former Black Lives Matter supporter that's going against Obama. This gets interesting, and a YouTuber. And they're going to inform people on exactly why there is no spunk, there is no fire under the people to run and vote for Kamala Harris in the black community. Exactly why my brothers don't seem to care about the joy. Here's what they had to say.
Joining me now is Xavier Durasso, a former BLM activist, and Anton Daniels, a YouTuber, content creator. Xavier, let's start with you. You say you were personally, after watching them, offended by Obama's comments?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, Obama's not as talented of a liar as he used to be. But quite frankly, my ancestors fought way too hard for me to have the ability to learn how to read, just for Obama to expect me to be so uneducated to think that I would vote for Kamala Harris simply because she claims to be a black woman. And I mean, if people want to stop having Kamala Harris be called a DEI hire, maybe he should stop trying to remind us of her demographic every 5 minutes. Black men not supporting Kamala has nothing to do with her being a woman. It has everything to do with her lack of accomplishments over the last 1,359 days.
Well, Anton, I'm watching.
So, right off the bat there, that's a great statement that he said there. That's amazing. That Barack Obama is doing the exact same thing Joe Biden did on that morning talk show where when he was running his campaign with scolding a black radio host that if you're having trouble deciding between me and Trump, then you ain't black. Barack Obama, as at least more of a wordsmith than Joe Biden, is doing the exact same thing. Scolding black people to say, if you don't vote for Kamala Harris, this black woman, who, by the way, for as much as we known about her, has always been an Indian woman. Always been. She always claimed herself as an Indian woman. Mindy Kaling, when they did their cooking show, Mindy Kaling and her refer to each other as Indian woman. Just most recently, came out and start saying a black woman. And when Trump said that, when Trump pointed that out, people thought it was crazy. But it did happen. Because for as long as we knew about Kamala Harris, she's always had Indian roots. And she was a proud Indian woman. That really doesn't even matter at this point. But for Barack Obama to scold black voters and assuming that they're so dumb and arrogant that why wouldn't you vote for Kamala Harris shows how arrogant and disconnected you are to the black community. And let me again remind people that the people that voted you twice into office refused to vote for Hillary Clinton and sided with Donald Trump. I wonder why that is. Could it be the fact that their life is so great that they wanted to roll the dice with the game show host? Is that it? They just wanted to make a joke out of everything? Oh, maybe it's because everyone became racist in 2016. Was that it? Oh, no. It's because your shitty policies, you as a neoliberal trope, made it so unbearable for black people, much like anyone else in the country, that they rolled the dice of the game show host, an unbearable game show host, then continue on with the status quo that maliciously attacked them. Maybe that's it. And maybe Barack Obama should put his hard shoe on, pull up his pants, and understand that. Instead of shaming people to vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. Talking down to people like they're lower than dirt. Sitting on his ivory goddamn tower. So, kudos to that guy. A former Black Lives Matter activist saying that. That's amazing.
Watching this, and I'm thinking to myself, the shtick is kind of worn thin with Obama, you know. How you doing, Pittsburgh? You know, that whole, it just seems very 2002 or 2008, I should say. Right? It doesn't quite have the same appeal, as megastar-ish as he is.
You know, it's a Hail Mary pass, considering that we did vote him in based off of identity politics. And I'm not saying that all is bad, because he did do some things that I didn't necessarily disagree with that Trump absolutely did better than him. But at the same time, I felt that it was incredibly disrespectful, because he's making the assumption that we're not educated enough to lead our families, to look at the policies, to understand exactly what's going on with immigration. And we're supposed to overlook everything that they did over the last 3.5 years that was not in our favor. And when I say our, I'm talking about the American people, let alone men, let alone black men. And we're supposed to vote for her because of some misogynistic reason that's made up. And instead, we've learned how to educate ourselves, and now they've sent their Messiah back to rein us in and bring us back into the Democratic plantation. And most men that I've spoken with have said that it's absolutely disrespectful, and we're done with Obama.
Well, Xavier, again.
So that's exactly it. They hope that bringing back the Messiah of Barack Obama, that hope and change of 2008, revisiting that, old vibe, bring back that, identity, 2008, first black man, now we're going to get the first black woman, how great that is going to be a winner for the Democrats. And in order for them to think that it's going to be a winner, they have to talk down to the people like they're dumber than dirt. And it's insulting. It's insulting on top of all the policies, the horrible policies that they've used to destroy working class people. Let's not forget that Barack Obama, the guy that was supposed to bring hope and change, did not bring any hope and change. He was a continuation of George Bush's policies. He turned 2 wars into 7. He was such a warmonger that he ran out of bombs, destroying Syria and Yemen and Libya and Iraq and Afghanistan. He was a continuation of the horrificness of George W. Bush. He kicked 1.5 million families out of their homes during the financial crisis of 2008. Did he penalize Wall Street like he said he was going to do? No. He congratulated them and gave them a bailout. He lied about Flint, Michigan. He lied about all this stuff. But they think that the identity, virtue signaling Messiah is going to be a Hail Mary pass for Kamala Harris. And it's amazing that, a former Black Lives Matter activist is calling this guy out, because Black Lives Matter, you realize that that started under Obama. That started under Obama. It wasn't Trump that initialized the movement that we got to deal with, police brutality among black people and brown people, minorities. It was Barack Obama. Ferguson, Missouri happened under Barack Obama, under a black president. We still had to worry about police brutality among minorities. So it's amazing that a former Black Lives Matter is calling out Obama, because people like him, schmucks like him, or Nancy Pelosi, or anybody else in the Democratic establishment who cheerleaded for Black Lives Matter. How well do you think it turned out for Black Lives? How did that process go? How much of a victory did you get with that? Did we stop police brutality? No, we increased it. We made it worse. They made it worse of the continuation of Black Lives Matter. But good to know that the government agent that was the head of the Black Lives Matter movement just bought herself a new penthouse with all the money fundraised that was supposed to help people in need of police brutality and all the legal finances and medical expenses. So these two are definitely spot on and calling out the bullshitness of Barack Obama and how the fact that he just came out of thin air like a magic fairy to try to scold people and shame people and talk down to you like an arrogant father figure to shame you into voting for a party that's already disgusted with you to begin with. So, hear the rest of this.
Again, when he says, "You're lucky Michelle's not here," he does. What is that supposed to mean? I mean, I guess it's supposed to be funny because she'll scold them in a more convincing or scarier fashion. It's kind of treating
that's the
young,
manly man, right?
Black men as children, almost like you're children. And mommy's coming back, and mommy's gonna chastise you, and you're gonna get punished. But you're supposed to vote against your own economic interests.
That was one of the manly men from Kamala Harris's campaign ad, right? You know, Michelle likes to eat carburetors. She eats her steak raw.
Interest to make Michelle and Barack happy in their 4 mansions?
It's absolutely degrading, and black men are sick of being reduced to being expected to think with our skin color. We have seen how terrible the Obama, Biden, Harris trilogy has been for our country. It has completely demoralized our country, and quite frankly, Obama has no credibility because this is the same man who heavily endorsed Joe Biden, and we all can feel in our pockets, and we can see it for sure at our border, just how terrible the Biden-Harris administration has been for our country. And Obama admitted himself back in an interview with Steve Colbert that if he could, he would run our country from an earpiece down in the basement. And it wouldn't surprise me if that's exactly what he's doing.
Now, Xavier,
and I also just find that funny that Barack Obama proudly endorsed Joe Biden, who wrote the 1994 heinous racist crime bill, the mass incarceration bill that cultivates police, law enforcement to lock up as many black and brown people in private prisons for private prison industry as possible. Barack Obama, a black man who's scolding other black men by saying, "I'm one of you," proudly endorsed Joe Biden, who did the most mass incarceration bill, was the proud leaders of the mass incarceration bill. Barack Obama endorsed him. Made him his VP pick. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? That your brother isn't exactly a brother. That maybe this guy that expects you to think with your skin color is a psyop of the Democratic establishment and their identity bullshit crap to shame people, to manipulate you, to do this woke virtue signaling so they can garner more votes out of you by not doing anything supportive of these people. They haven't done a damn thing for the black and brown community to earn their votes again. That's why they're signed towards Trump. That's why a lot of them aren't even partaking to vote. They don't even bother voting at this point because the Democratic Party is sure ignoring them and abusing them. The Republican Party has ignored them and abused them. So why bother? Why bother? Barack Obama scolding black men for having a conscious mind, thinking for themselves, and seeing the system designed by people like Barack Obama to exploit them. and you're being scolded by a man. You're being scolded by Barack Obama when he says that he knows the troubles. I know the troubles. I know the struggles of coming up in this world. I'm just like you. How many of those other people in that room have 4 mansions? I like to know how many of those people actually have a house. Because the policies that are being enacted right now, and with Obama's terms, and Bill Clinton, and all the others, has made it worse for the living conditions of them. And Barack Obama is that person that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. warned people about. Barack Obama is the envisionment of white neoliberal establishment. And the only reason they poise him to power and make him this fabulous saint is because of his skin color. It's because of the fact that it is a black man with a Muslim-sounding name that talks about hope and change. But he did not enact in any of that because he was a fundamental construction of the neoliberal world order done by these narcissistic establishment neoliberal scumbags that don't give 2 rats' asses about the black and brown community. In fact, most of the racist policies, the reason we have racism in this country and around the world still, it's because it's from the top down. They're the ones that enacted this rhetoric. They're the ones that enacted these horrific policies and screwed over people. It didn't start from Krabby Joe in Mississippi down by the river. Racism didn't start by him. It started from the top down. And for Barack Obama to stand on stage and scold them and talk down to them like they're dumbasses because of being black shows how arrogant he is to his own brethren, shows how arrogant he is to his own country, and pretty much racist for doing that. So kudos on that guy. I forget the guy's name. The Black Lives Activist Matter guy, and Anton Daniels. Oh wait, there's more to this.
Excuse me, Anton. The media are really pushing Obama to be the rescue agent for Kamala's campaign. Watch this.
Barack Obama, with joy and with humor, is able to sort of get through to an audience that it's not okay to lie. Mm-hmm. It's not okay to sell the presidency. It's not okay to be a narcissist and to have the reins of the presidency.
Anton, so Kamala's joy campaign isn't really working. So Obama's going to come in, and again, you're supposed to make less money in real terms, right, and be happy with it to make Obama and like MSNBC happy? I don't understand this argument.
They took the same blueprint that.
So this is how a functioning democracy works in their terms. You can lie for the establishment. It's not okay to tell the truth. It's not okay to be critical. It's not okay to use a brain. But you can lie for the establishment. You can sell your presidency to get company endorsements like Netflix or getting an anchor position at MSNBC like Jen Psaki and Nicole Sullivan and other people, or Nicole Wallace. Why did I say Nicole Sullivan? Anyway, you can sell yourself out. And in order for peaceful prosperity, the working class people have to serve themselves out to the establishment for less and less money. You have less and less ability of your own finances. You have to sell yourself out to serve the establishment. That's what they consider prosperity in neoliberal land, in New World Order land. That's where you get the Great Reset logic coming from. Where you own nothing and you'll just eat bugs and you'll be happy. You'll be happy. You gotta vote for the joy, because eventually the joy is nothing. You're going to feel joy because we're going to make you feel joy. That's just, wow. Unbelievably crazy. So, Barack Obama trying to be the, quarterback to save the Kamala Harris football team. And the fact that people aren't taking this line down because they know better. They know better. These two actually have brains. These two actually have brains. They have ideals. They have opinions. They've actually read up on things. And I know reading is such a bad thing at this time. They don't want you to read anything. They don't want you to be informed because of stuff like this. But kudos to these guys for speaking out and pointing out the obvious flaws, the obvious deception of having Barack Obama on stage endorsing Kamala Harris is obviously the Democratic angle to sell more and more people out, not gaining votes from them, not actually offering anything to them, but selling you short so that they can retain more power. That's all this is.